What's the biggest shift you've seen in email marketing? I guess I would say over the last year or so.
AI is kind of the thing that's taking over everything. The automation piece, I think those two are really intertwined.
The AI, like Dave is saying, is able to analyze consumer behavior. And now I can start incorporating even other channels of marketing, right? Instead of just dripping on somebody who is likely to purchase, it is allowing us to target more effectively.
I'm here today with two of my favorite email friends, Stephanie Alfonso and Dave Charest. So you guys, I'm super excited to talk about email marketing. It's a big passion of mine. You all are really the experts on it. So the first question I'm going to ask you is, what's the biggest shift you've seen in email marketing? So I guess I would say over the last year or so. Who wants to take that?
Dave, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Because I was going to say, I'm sure we probably both have some ideas on this. But
Yeah.
I think that, from my perspective, I think the biggest things are probably from an AI and an automation standpoint, right? I think AI is kind of the thing that's taking over everything, right? In some ways, I think we could be, if we were talking about, nail polish, we'd be talking about how AI is impacting nail polish, right? So,
Or toe polish.
Exactly, right? So, so it's those two things, really. I think AI opens up things in a way that just wasn't possible before.
Yeah.
People the opportunity to do things or recognize things that they may not have recognized otherwise. And then the automation piece, I think those two are really intertwined, where you can start to use those two things to help you actually get more things done. It brings its own problems, of course, right? But I think because then you've got to be open to using those tools and then, understanding bits and pieces of that. But I feel like that's where tools like Constant Contact come in, right? So that's what I would say. Those are the two big things, and we can explore those more if you want. But that's where I would say the big things are right now.
Before we go to you, Steph, I do want to go into the AI piece.
Yeah, sure.
More. So can you just kind of expand a little bit on that? Like when you think about how maybe real estate agents are using AI now, which is essentially to write their content.
Sure.
Right. Really, their listing descriptions, things like that. How can they incorporate that into email? And what does that mean? Yeah.
Well, so I'll position it like this. So like, obviously there's the generative piece of it, right? So AI can come in, it can help you create those things. Myself, as I would consider myself a writer and a content creator, right? I'm not necessarily too concerned with it from a content creation standpoint, although I have found it very helpful from a derivative content place, right? So if I have a point of view or something and I'm writing something and then, hey, I need to make this work for LinkedIn, for example, or do something like that, I think it saves you a ton of time in what you're doing across channels, right? Thinking about how to use your ideas and then make it work on different channels. So that's one piece of it. But I actually think the really interesting and exciting piece is how it can help you, just cross-channel, just even thinking about your strategy and your campaigns and what you're going to do from that perspective and when and the timings and the types of messages to send in each of those things. But I think the bigger piece is what it allows you to do with the data. The way AI can process the information that you have. And I don't even think we're fully there yet. I know at Constant Contact, we kind of see this as the future of where things can go in many instances, right? But it's imagine being able to say these are your highly engaged people, or this is the next best message to send to this person based on kind of what we're seeing here. And you're using a kind of element of the AI and the predictive analytics, for example, to really find those patterns that, let's be frank, none of us have the time to just sit down and take a look at, right?
Yeah, right.
And so that gets really exciting to me because it's oh, wow. If AI can be working in the background, doing its thing, and let's say I log on and it says hey, psst, Dave, maybe you should try this because it seems like a good time to do that. Whoa, right? All of a sudden now you're uncovering opportunities that could lead to something that you just wouldn't have uncovered otherwise because you just don't have the time to do it. So that, to me, the AI component is I think we're getting towards there, and as we get more there, that's where I think things become really interesting.
Okay, so when is Constant Contact going to get there? Because I think that is fascinating. It would just make life so much easier if the meme in the background said, hey, like this person's really active and clicking on all of your stuff
Yep.
and da 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 da. And even better, like I've noticed they've been looking on, at other things as well that
Sure.
are related. Now's the time to reach out and have a
Yeah.
conversation.
So I can't give hard dates because the people on the product side would kill me if I did that.
That's true. That's true.
Right. But I think in some ways, we're getting closer to that. So, just even thinking of like, we have things like dynamic segmentation, for example.
Yeah.
So there's still some manual piece in what you do after the segment is created. But you can, to this point, you can figure out who are your most engaged people, who are your least engaged people. And you can have those lists created for you so that at least then you have a segment to go towards and, treat a little bit differently. So I think things like that happen. And then you marry that with some automation and those types of things. But the pieces where you start to enrich the data, those are things that we're slowly kind of folding into the process. And so TBD on the exact release on that, but that's where we'd love to see things happen.
Oh my God, I'm so excited about that. I do love the new dynamic segments, I have to say. Like,
cool stuff,
cool.
Right? Like
yes.
And then you can use your own criteria to start to create those too, right? And I think that's, again, just a good way to use, again, the information you're getting and the signals that you're getting to then do something with them, right?
Yeah. I think when I'm thinking about if I'm a real estate agent and you have this dynamic segmentation already set up. Steph knows where I'm going here, right? Like you can tell buyers, for example, when they're clicking on your listings, when they're clicking on other listings, what they're looking at. It's just great intel to marry with maybe, if you've got Real Scout or your MLS integration to really understand where these people are looking, what they're interested in, so that you can tee up the next conversation and some of the next questions. Steph, you want to add on to that?
Yeah, I think, the AI, like Dave is saying, is able to analyze consumer behavior, right? And we want to know practically, okay, if I have 1,500 people in my database, who's most likely to sell in the next 6 months, right?
Yep.
Based on what they're doing, what they're opening, what they're clicking on, who are the people that are, searching 123 Main Street, they're clicking on 123 Main Street. And now I can start incorporating even other channels of marketing, right? Instead of just dripping on somebody who is likely to purchase, maybe now I put them in a text campaign.
Exactly.
SMS marketing's got 98% open rate,
yeah.
right? So if I know that I have these highly engaged email readers, well, now let me put them into like that VIP upper echelon mode of communication with SMS, and then start giving them those updates on that particular property or whatever it might be. So, AI, of course, realtors, most folks are utilizing it again for content creation. But behind the scenes and even now kind of stepping front and center, it is allowing us to target more effectively. And that is something that agents are kind of like you, Christine, like their ears are perked, like, yeah, that's the kind of stuff we want to do.
Yeah.
And really, it's on us now to kind of give that education on how it can be done and how these tools are making it easier.
Well, so that kind of leads to my next question. So let's talk about content, right? So I'm putting my real estate agent hat on and I'm saying that makes a whole lot of sense. Like I would love to know who's getting ready to sell. So the question is, what kind of content is going to give me that kind of information, that kind of dynamic information? So when you think about an email newsletter, for example, that you're sending out on a monthly basis as a real estate agent, and you want to really try to understand where people are at in the buying and selling journey, what type of content makes sense in order to train the system to really understand what the likelihood of them buying or selling is?
Well, so first, putting out content that obviously is going to pique the interest of a seller, content that is going to be, maybe you're putting out something in your newsletter about, prepping your home to get ready to list, or people that are thinking about putting their house on the market for sale by owner, things like that, right? Are going to first and foremost be able to tell me, all right, who's engaged with this kind of content that I'm going to want to connect with, right? But then there's other modes of marketing that we need to start using too, like surveys. I think it's really important that agents start utilizing surveys and survey their audience kind of on a frequent basis. I mean, you'd be amazed by putting out a survey in your newsletter of, hey, are you thinking about selling your home in the next 6 months? Right? It sounds so simple, but yet agents aren't really doing it very often.
Yeah.
And then coupling that with different types of lead magnets and all of that is giving you insight onto your database. Your database is your number one asset in your business. And I think that if we start putting stuff out there, allowing multi-channels to be able to capture information from folks, I think is going to be really important to be able to hone in on that. And of course, coupled with just your traditional content that would be, seriously, I would tell agents, put it in your chat GPT. What kind of content would a potential seller be interested in? See what it puts out there, right? What would they be interested in?
Yeah.
And it'll give you some great ideas. Take those prompts, put it in your constant contact, let it craft an email for you, and then make sure you have a call to action. And that's another missing piece. Now, AI, like in Constant Contact, will create a call to action for you, or at least give you some suggestions. But that's an important thing that a lot of real estate pros are not really leveraging, is they're putting out content. Yes, they're getting clicks and seeing, able to see who's opening and whatnot. But how about like a direct call to action? And allowing that to be your heat indicator from your own database.
Yeah. Yeah. Dave, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, a couple of things I'll add here. I think, one, I think it's really important for us. I often come at this from not a real estate specific lens, but really more of just a general business lens. But I think it applies here as well. I think about including the types of content that help you start to figure out who people are, right? If you don't know that out of the gate. And so what I mean is, like, we talked about, dynamic segments earlier, but there's also like click segmentation, right? So that means if you put in a guide to selling your home, and somebody's clicking on that, you can put those people into a list of people that are interested in selling, right? And so now you know, oh, these are the types of messages I might want to hit these people up with because this is what they're interested in. And then even thinking about what is the automation you have on the backside of that list too, right? So if you're selling, then you've got a bunch of messages that are set up to go to them, right? To bring them down that path. I think the other thing is, because we are in this place where AI is, able to create this content, I think that's good and gets you to a place, but also don't miss out on the opportunity to be more personal in these emails.
Yeah.
Don't make them just feel promotional or like here's a listing, right? Because then it's really easy to ignore. And I think we would all agree on this, particularly at a big event like buying or selling a home. You want to have those personal connections with people. You want to feel comfortable, right? This is what the real estate industry is all about in many instances. And so make sure that you are putting your personality, that when you are receiving these emails from people, make sure that it should feel like I'm getting a letter from a friend. We joked about being email friends here. And I was like, wouldn't that be fun if we were just sending little messages to each other? Right? Like, it's like, hey, Christine, how you doing today?
Like, right? A pen pal?
Right, exactly. Right. But in many ways, right, you should want your content to feel like that. Yeah. Because apropos of the title of this podcast, right? We do business with people we know, like, and trust. And how can I get to know you, like you, and trust you if you're not showing me who you are? Right. And so I think that's really important.
I love that. Oops, sorry, Christine.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I love that you brought that up, Dave, because that's what I have personally seen so many of the folks that are putting really, really engaging content out there. Engaging content is always going to look personal. It's always going to be something that's different, not just buy with me, sell with me, I love your referrals. I have an agent here in the Denver area who looks like the main character from the Netflix show You. Are you guys familiar? Anyone?
Okay. Yeah.
No. All right. No. Well, he's a serial killer. It's kind of a creepy show, but he looks just like him. Now, this is my realtor. Okay. His name is Sam Newman. He's fantastic. You can check it out. Anyway, so he did a video for a listing where he played off of this whole character that everyone tells him he looks like. And he created a list, like a video tour of the property, talking about this property like it was the object of his affection, right? Like these women, and that the show, it was like, hello, you, 123 Main Street.
Wow.
I was so good. Listen, the local news picked it up and they were interviewing him about this. He did email campaigns on this, social media campaigns on this, all of this based on him looking like this psychopathic, serial killer. but it's the hottest show on Netflix right now. So he was just like, all right, everyone tells me I look like this guy, Joe Goldberg. I'm going to just play into it and I'm going to work this into my real estate stuff. And like so many people engaged with it, right?
Yeah.
I am sure that, he got so much more engagement. I could actually find out numbers from him soon than he would if it was just your typical virtual tour saying, come on, guys, take a look at the mountain views,
Yeah.
So to your point, Dave, I'm with you. Personal is always better. I'll talk about later the 80-20 rule, 80% personal, 20% who you are and who you serve in a business capacity. But, just anything we can do to build like, know, and trust, I'm with you.
Yeah, I love that. And so that was actually you guys segued really well. I wanted to get into that balance between personal and promotional. And I really want to understand, because I try to impart this on clients and how do we actually let our personalities shine through online when we're not necessarily doing video, right? Like when it is in an email campaign, it's mostly written. You can put video in there for sure. But in terms of actual content and written word, how do we put our personalities how do we let them shine,
Ooh, so I'll start with this one real quick, Dave, and then I'll let you chime in too with just a personal experience. So I was sending an email out, and in the subject line this isn't like best practices, folks, but I'm just telling you something personal. In the subject line, I put in the beginning lyrics of Ice Ice Baby. I literally put in my subject line, all right, stop, collaborate, and listen. That's it. Had nothing to do with my email. But do you know people opened that? And do you know how many people responded to me with like the next lyrics of Ice Ice Baby? And yes, this was a professional email. Yes, this was business related. And we got, to the bones of what we needed to talk about. But it was just like almost a test. That's my personality. I wanted to see who would respond. I made jokes about like, all right, I can tell who was, born in the 70s and the 80s, who were teenagers at the time. But I got so much engagement from it. And that's just me. That's personal. And I would have been so disappointed to see if I really like A/B tested it, right? And saw if I just put something very professional in that subject line, I'm sure I would have gotten far less engagement. So even from the very beginning in your subject line, people like humor, people want to know that how is this going to stand out from all the other, things that I see in my inbox. So that's just my personal story on letting your personality shine through, even if it's very professional.
So
go ahead.
I'll add to that just, I think the first and foremost, I think you need to think of whatever email that you're sending, think about it as if you're sending that email to one person. I think that's a big differentiator in the sense of like, oh, I'm writing this email to someone in terms of how you're presenting your content to people, because reality is that person receiving it is not saying, hey, everyone, I'm going to open my email. Let's gather around. And it's like, let's all read this. So it's not like, hey, guys, right? No, like you're writing to one person, right? So one person is going to be reading that. And so I think the more you can focus your content as if you're talking one-on-one with someone, I think that's important. But to your point of, I get it, right? A lot of times people aren't comfortable writing. People aren't comfortable being in front of the camera. But I think what it is finding how you are comfortable. Right. So if you're comfortable sitting down with a friend and having a conversation with them, record that. Yeah. Record that, transcribe it. And then we have all these tools. This is a great place for ChatGPT to come in, right? Or AI to come in here to say, all right, here are my thoughts on this question someone asked me. Now, can you just take what I said and actually make it feel a little more, not formal, but make it make more sense, right? Yeah. Put it in a format. So now you've shared your expertise, and then AI has cleaned it up for you. And then now it's figuring out how do you feel comfortable, and then using the tools and the technology available you to do other things with it, right? Yeah. I think AI is best when it's derivative of the things, right? As I kind of mentioned earlier. And so for me, that's how you start to do it. Like, what are you comfortable doing? So do that. And then you have to do what I call do double duty with it, right? Like I've even taken to, just recently we're in New York and Boston, and we were doing, I would do a keynote there, and then we were inviting folks back to the booth to ask marketing questions. we recorded that to put in a podcast episode that we just released. But then I also set up a camera and recorded myself answering the questions, so then I could take those clips and then share those on social media.
Oh my God, that's brilliant.
So I'm doing so every day we do so much work that could be used for something else, but we treat it as kind of disposable and we throw it away and then be like, oh man, I got no time to do that other thing. I'm like, actually, you did the thing, you just needed to document it.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Repurposing content is.
It's just, you got to break yourself out of the mindset of like, oh yeah, there's so much I could take advantage of, right? And just share the story of, or I had this conversation today, right? And so I think it's just, oh yeah, it's obvious when you say it out loud, but then you're like, you just need somebody to go, oh yeah, you're right.
It's creating the habit to just be mindful of what's happening, like what you're doing, what conversations you're happening, that can be used as content.
Yeah.
It really is. I want to get back to what your example, Steph, for a second, because essentially it had to do with the subject line.
Yeah. Yep.
And really that's the thing that's going to create the open rate, right?
Right.
Click, right?
Yeah.
So that feels to me like it's super important, the subject line. In fact, I did my weekly newsletter 2 weeks ago. It got blown out of the water. Like I had well over 60% open rate on it. And it was the GIF, the goof, and the real reason it matters. That was my subject line. And it got a ton. So talk to me about the subject line. How important is it? How do you figure out what's the right subject line? Like you did. I mean, that was brilliant. Like, how do you figure that out?
The simplest thing for me is, how am I going to stand out? Right? How am I going to do something that's going to stand out from everything else that's in my inbox? People might see that something's coming from Stephanie Alfonso. Great. And I hope that people would want to open something I send. But the reality is that I've got to present some kind of value, and I have to do it very, very quickly. And it needs to be something that's going to capture people at a glance within a second. Right. So I think that's the first challenge. Now, there's ways AI can help with that. Like in Constant Contact, AI can basically review the entire email and create suggestions on subject lines based on the email. And that's super helpful. I know Dave, he talks a lot about some kind of misconceptions about spam and things like that. I'm sure we'll get to it in a little bit. So I don't want to focus on don't do these things to end up in spam and this and that, because that's a little bit outdated. But really, it's just, I try my best to infuse my personality. Number one, you can use an emoji. There's, some people don't realize you can use emojis. You can use exclamation points, not too many. But, those are things that help to show I'm an enthusiastic person. I try to make it something sometimes that can be kind of provocative. Mm-hmm. The subject line that you just mentioned, you said the gift and the goof.
The GIF. GIF.
Oh, the GIF. Oh, okay. The GIF and the goof. Yeah. Personally, that, that alliteration kind of stands out a little bit.
Yeah.
But the fact that you said goof, even that is just a different word than I'm used to seeing. It wasn't the common mistakes that people are making. You know what I mean? It stands out. And so those are the things that I just think to myself, there's nothing scientific about it. It truly is what's going to be a little bit different, maybe a little bit provocative, and make people say, I want to read this. Maybe use a number, even a number, showing me okay, this is the 3 things that whatever, but makes me feel like, all right, I want to know those 3 things. I don't want to make those 3 mistakes, whatever. And it makes me show that it's not going to be a super long read either.
Yeah.
So those are my little, just kind of practical tips. What are your thoughts, Dave?
I would just say the 2 things you mentioned here, I think it's the number one reason why we open an email is because of who it's from. Mm-hmm. And so, and as we talk about these, personal connections and doing that, I think number one, you should make sure that you are sending from a person, right? Not the name of the business necessarily. Yeah. You can be, name of person at business, sure, but make sure there's that recognition of the person, right? Because that's actually going to be the number one thing.
Yeah.
But then to your point, what we're saying here, I mean, you both gave examples of things that create curiosity. And so what is it that's going to break the pattern as you're scanning your inbox? And so this again boils down to knowing who you're talking to. And I like that idea of like putting like opposing things together sometimes, or like something that's known with something that's unknown, right? So that you're like, wait, how does this go together? Right. I mean, that puts a little bit more onus on you to then deliver on that when you open up the email. But I think, it's just doing those things. But I often try to tell people to, like, don't stress out too much about the subject line. The end of the day, again, it's if you're consistently providing value to people, people are going to be looking forward to opening that anyway.
Yes.
And the subject line is just almost a thing that says, okay, do it. Should I open this right now? Right. You know what I mean? And so you catch them as they're cleaning out their inbox kind of thing. And so I think the simplest way to think about it is like, what's in this email? Why would someone find that interesting? That's your subject line. Yeah. Right. And so, but that's what I would start to think about. It's the curiosity piece. I think that ultimately gets people to go like, oh, okay, let's give this a shot.
Yeah. And I love that curiosity piece. And I think what you bring up a good point about consistency. Like you need to be providing that level of a high level of value, balanced with personal, on a consistent basis, so that people ask the question, do I need to open this now or can it wait till later? Like, to me, that's when you've reached your sort of holy grail. Oh, Steph's in my email box. Do I wait or do I open it right now?
Yeah. That habit forming is important.
Yeah.
Habit forming. I talk to a lot of brokers too that will say like they really try to limit the amount of communication with their agents, in the sense of they'll find if they send one email, right? Brenda Thompson, she won't mind me calling her out. Brenda Thompson with HomeSmart, she will send an email, her Marvelous Monday email to her agents every Monday, 9:00 Central. And she'll say, like, this is my weekly, like everything you guys need to know is it's in your Marvelous Monday. Right. And people look for it, right? They know when it's coming. And they know that that's where they're going to get all their need to knows. And so I think that time, again, relevancy, who it is, I think is going to be really important. But we want to create habit forming, just like the podcast world. Like I have my podcast that I listen to and I wait for every week.
Yeah.
And so I think that if we kind of try to lean into that type of anticipation with that good content and it comes out at the same time every day or every week or whatever your cadence is, that's going to increase your engagement.
I want to move on to open rates because, I used to swear by open rates, but now Apple has this privacy protection, right, that they sort of automatically open them, which really makes open rates less relevant. Talk to me about that. And, are they still relevant? And whether they are or not, like what other measures are really important that agents should be looking at?
So first off the bat, I would say what I think would matter most is like your list growth rate, right? Am I getting people to subscribe to this newsletter? I think that's very important. I always talk about getting your followers to become subscribers, right? Talking about augmenting your social media and your email together, and conversion rate, right? When you have a CTA, there's a call to action out there. Are you converting? Are you getting people to do something? So I think beyond those are kind of two metrics for me that I think are really important. What are your thoughts, Dave?
I'll just add to that to say that I often joke that opens and clicks are very much the original vanity metric, right? In many ways, because opens and clicks do not equal money in the bank account, right? Yeah. And so I often recommend that you need to look beyond that, and it may be something that doesn't show up in your dashboard, right? It could be, does someone reply? Right. Yeah. That's a high level engagement, because particularly today, like it's not like when we first got email, it was like, ooh, I've got this electronic mail. Ooh, I can reply to somebody. Right. Like now it's just like everybody's got so much. And if somebody actually takes the moment to reply to you, that's meaningful.
Yes.
Right. And so it's like, oh, okay. That's something that I would look at. Right. So is there engagement coming from that? But then I would also look at, okay, well, are people doing the things that I wanted them to do? And that might mean, did someone pick up the phone and call me? Did someone ask a question about a particular listing that I sent out or something like that, right? So I think it's just being clear on, I'm going to send this email. What's the purpose of sending that email? what do I want to have happen by sending this email?
Yeah.
And once you understand that, then you kind of know what's important to be looking for beyond just the opens and clicks. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. It makes great sense. I love, and it's the list growth rate is also really important. I mean, I have a goal for myself for this year, so I agree with that. And I love it. Like when I send my email newsletter out every week, I love it when I get replies. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, it hit a nerve, right?
Yeah.
It hit a nerve.
That's to me. So again, as somebody who's creating content and like knowing what's resonating is far more important to me than just the opens, right? Because sure, open, but like, did I care? Really? Right. And to your point, yeah, like that's, not a true number these days anyway. But like knowing what resonates then allows me to know, oh, okay, so this is content that people are, that's getting attention of people. And then it sets you down a path like, okay, so what if I expanded on this idea or this topic more? Again, because at the end of the day, I think, many ways it's because there's so many things competing for attention, it is getting that attention that allows you to stand out and have a place in people's hearts and minds and to use that phrase, but that type of thing.
Oh,
and also
it's a real phrase.
Well, think about this too. When you think about, okay, if I have a very high open rate, right? A lot of people are opening my emails and you're not getting much engagement. You're not getting replies. You're not triggering a call to action. What does that tell you? You know what I mean? Like if we're only measuring that open rate, we're getting a high open rate, nothing else is happening. Like there's a bigger problem here that we need to deal with, right?
Yeah.
Is the relevancy and the value that you're providing. And so I almost feel like, yes, the open rate is a metric that is part of the email world, right? We want to make sure things are landing, but at the end of the day, it's the other metrics that really matter.
But I love that, right? Because it points you in a direction. And I think I think maybe that's the key is like, don't just do the thing, make sure you are looking at what's happening with the thing so that you can say, oh, well, yeah, a lot of people are opening, but no one's responding. Or then now you've got people unsubscribing or right. Like, so it gives you, it kind of points you in a direction to say, oh, okay, I've got to be more focused on this part of it. Right. So that I can figure out what's going on there.
Yeah.
I love it.
And, gone are the days too of, there was a lot of companies that would just put out content for agents, right? And 10 years ago, it was kind of, it was in vogue, right? We even coaching at associations. And I would say, guys, it's important that you're in people's inbox and in their news feed and all this kind of stuff. And companies were just giving content. So the agents were excited because they're like, oh, I don't have to do it. But the articles were, 5 easy steps to cleaning out your litter box.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like gone are those days where that's enough, my friends.
Exactly.
Right? Like, you can't just be in the inbox, right? You've got to have a business result.
Yeah.
Or else it's for naught.
Yeah. And I think, you've got to, like you were saying earlier, Dave, talk to people like you're talking to a friend. Like you have to make them feel like you're speaking directly to them. I'm not religious. I'm not like a church person at all. That might turn some people off even, I don't know. But I do go to church every once in a while. And we have a priest who, I swear to God, that church is full of families. And I feel like he's just speaking to me.
Yeah.
And that is the effect I think that you want to have when you send, an email campaign out. It's like you want that person to feel like, were they following me around today? Because I feel like,
that's the goal, right? That's the goal. And so and harder said, easier said than done, of course, but it's by knowing that audience and I think you're living this in so many ways. It's just taking that, you just have to, in some ways, open yourself up to noticing it. Right. Because I feel like we do these things so often, right? Like sometimes I feel like the easiest marketing advice sometimes is just like, would you do this face to face with someone?
Yes.
If the answer is no, don't do that.
Don't do it.
And if it is, look for more ways to do that. But you're just using the digital realm to do it, right? So
totally.
Yeah.
Dave, I feel like it's you who has said this before. And if you have, I totally have stolen it.
If I like it, I'll take full credit.
Got it. Very simple, but it's all about like taking your contacts and turning them into individuals, right?
Yeah.
When we're creating content, when we're targeting like all these contacts in your database, listen, I'm just coming off the road of all these conferences and everything with people that are like, I've got 10,000 contacts. I've got 5,000 contacts. I have about 50,000 contacts. And it's like, all right, great. We need to start thinking of these as individuals, right?
Yep.
I think the stat is 52% of consumers are going to switch brands if content isn't targeted.
Yeah.
If we are not sending content that makes you feel like the priest makes you feel like, whoa, you're like, you are reading my mail. You are speaking to me, my friend.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that that's the goal. And that's the emotion that we want to create too. And whenever we're putting out content is like, you hear me, that matters to me. If I'm looking, and some people will say to me too, like, well, am I sending out content too often or whatever? It's like, if I'm an active buyer, especially, or if I'm, if I'm active in the market right now, like, no, when I just moved from Florida to Colorado, my agent, there is no way he could have sent me too much content. I want to know what are the good burger spots in the Denver area. I want to know all the neighborhoods. I want to know if there's a road closure because I don't want to live too close to somewhere where there's construction. Like all those things matter to me. So
I want to get back to list growth because I want to know from your perspective, what's working when it comes to list growth, because lead magnets are, I feel like they're going away. I feel like they're a thing of the past. Is that true? Like, what do you see working to build lists?
Well,
so
go ahead, Steph.
No, go ahead. You go.
Well, I was just going to say, like, so yeah, you know what it is? So here, I'm going to be like honest. Like, I think we sometimes use things as an excuse for why we're not good at them. Right? Meaning saying like, well, lead magnets aren't really working well right now. It's like when we took away like pixel tracking and like those types of things. I'm like, well, just because you can't track it now, it just means you have to work harder at getting people to do things, right?
Yeah.
To really make the difference. And I feel like this is similar. It means you really need to create something as that lead magnet. And I don't think it's just on that. I think whatever it is that you're creating and the stuff that you're offering, show the value of that. Focus on what that thing is and talk to a specific audience that you're trying to get on your list. And if you can do that, it's kind of the culmination of all of these things we've been talking about to this point.
Yeah.
If we're providing value in the emails that we're sending, if people are feeling like we've been following them around and talking about what's going on in their brain, well, then they're going to want to receive that. I mean, also, if you get some of those replies and like this email really hit on, what I've been thinking right now, why not say to that person, hey, would you mind if I put this on my landing page where people sign up, where it says like this email hit me right where I needed it to hit me right at this point, right? So it's the same as like selling your business, right? You want referrals about your business. It's like you want the same thing for this section of your business, which is the email list, right? Because that's where the business ends up coming from. And so we're always selling. You have to sell each part of those things and think of them as the individual components leading to the bigger overall picture, of course. But it's that, like, just be focused on the people that you're trying to reach and then help them become more successful. And then everything else kind of takes care of itself. And I don't know if I'm really answering your question, but like, I just feel like we can probably do more than we do to be more valuable to others.
Yeah. So when it comes to lead magnets in particular, just because that was an example that you used, I think one of the classes that I really want to create is that I want to call Back to the Future. Like, what are some of the old school practices that we can couple with new, more modern practices that we can couple together and make work more efficiently? For example, a lot of people will use lead magnets and have like one lead magnet out there, right? One of the things that I'll say is like have multiple lead magnets out there. Make sure that we have lead capture on our website. Is the lead capture on our website integrating into our CRM or our marketing tool or whatever that might be? Landing pages have far more lead generation capabilities or success rather than even your own website. So are we using landing pages? Are we using multiple landing pages? All of those things work together. And really it comes down to also identifying, again, the business objective.
Yeah.
When I think of a lead magnet, we think of leads, especially in real estate. Like a lead magnet is going to show me a buyer or seller. Well, maybe a lead magnet is truly just to get like for list growth. Maybe that lead magnet is truly to get more people in my database. It could be somebody that doesn't list their home with me for the next 5 years, but they're in my database. So I think, coupling all of that with just having correct objectives. It's not always about, a lot of times agents, again, we look at leads as people that I'm going to do business with right now.
Yeah.
Right. It's either a now lead or a later lead. But all of these things together, the way I teach, everything is about building your list. That's it. If you're buying leads, if you're using lead magnets, if you've got a bot on your website, it doesn't matter. It's all about growing your list. And then targeted, effective, consistent marketing to your list is going to get you buyers and sellers. Like at the end of the day,
there it is.
That's it. That's it.
I'll add one other thing just
Mic
in
drop.
terms of the list growth, though, is I think you have to remember to make this part of your process, right? You have to make it a priority, because if you're not asking people or you're leaving the trail to your list, then your list isn't going to grow.
Yeah.
I think of my own, my own personal list that I grow. I'm sending an email every other Sunday, and every Friday before I send one, I'm putting up a post on LinkedIn that says like, hey, here's what I'm going to be talking about in my email that drops on Sunday. If you want to find out more about what I'm talking about here, make sure you're clicking that link in my profile and signing up, right? And every time I do that, I'm getting 10, 12, 15 new people sign up. Now, if I'm not doing that, that means I'm not getting 10, 12, 15 new people signing up every other week, right? And so, but it's part of my process. I now do this in presentations where, hey, if you like anything I talked about today, sign up for my list, right? So I'm in front of people, I'm giving them good stuff and then inviting them to come back with me. And I think if you don't make it part of your processes, you're always going to be going like, why isn't my list growing?
Yeah.
Well, because you're not really, right? You're not really trying to grow it, right? And so I think that's you've got to make it part of what you do. Yes,
absolutely. I love it. Okay. We only have a couple more minutes here, and I want to talk a little bit about Constant Contact, because I am a user. I love it. You guys work for the company. You're doing so many new things, releasing so many new features all the time. I want to know, are there features, of course, I'm saying this for myself as well as my listeners, inside Constant Contact that people just aren't utilizing enough?
Ooh, that's a good one. I'll start.
Go.
SMS. Not utilizing SMS nearly enough, for sure. I'm teaching a lot of classes around SMS marketing. I'm really trying to get people to understand and feel comfortable, because so many real estate professionals are like, am I going to be annoying? All of that, and making them understand, kind of doing some myth busting around SMS marketing. And giving some examples of how, like, retail, for example, does a great job using SMS. Nonprofits do a great job using SMS. Here are ways that real estate professionals can use it. And then the other thing that I would say would be landing pages. A lot of people don't realize that Constant Contact, no matter what level of Constant Contact you come in at, you have unlimited landing pages. And to quote Marquis Lemons-Rowell, who did our Be a Marketer podcast, that'll be a hill she'll die on. She'll be like, landing pages all day long. You'll get way more leads from your landing pages than you will your website. And you have so many of those, whether you want to use that as a single property website or whatever. Those are two things every day I see that are not being utilized in its full capacity.
All right. I definitely need to utilize the SMS more. I like many people, I'm very afraid to be annoying.
Well, so let me add a tip to that then, right? Because I think that's your point. That's a big thing. Like people always go like, oh, I hate getting text messages, right? Because typically what do? You sign up for like a consumer related text message, and all they go is say like, here's a sale, buy this stuff, buy this stuff, right? So yeah, okay. If you don't like that, who says you have to use it like that? Right. And so I think the big thing and the advantage of the SMS piece is that if someone dings your phone, you're looking at that right away. So think about, how is what I'm sending through that text message, how is it timely? How is it relevant to the person receiving it? And how is it also got some type of exclusivity, right? Because you think somebody gives you the permission to contact them on that device that they have with them all the time, right? Like you don't want to abuse that. And so it's about, like, if we use our example, like some of the things we've talked about here today, like, oh, you see someone looking at listings, they're in the market to buy. Maybe you then send that person, hey, I wanted to let you know about an exclusive listing that I haven't even told anybody else about yet.
Right.
tell me if you want to go take a look at this, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, all of a sudden this becomes like, oh, wow, you feel special.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, that's talking exactly like what I'm looking for because
Yeah.
you're using the information. And so I think to add to the SMS piece, I think that's it, right? It's like, yeah, don't be annoying. Look at how can I add value to this relationship, right?
Yeah.
And how can I just help serve that person? And I think that's going to serve you better. In terms of pieces of constant contact specifically, I think an underused piece of this, again, gets to like the idea of content, right? You have the ability within constant contact to use dynamic content. And what that means is I could send my weekly email, and then I could say, I'll just give you an example. I have I could send my weekly email, and I can have a section of that email where I have people that I know are either a marketer at an agency, people that are the owner of a business doing the marketing, or people that are even constant contact employees that are on the list as well. I could say, I'm going to send this one email and lead the story up to this particular point. And then I can say, for these people, add this content. For these people, add this content. For these people that add this content. So I could be very specific on how I weave the story I've started to tell into a specific use case for them.
Yes.
And each person would feel like, oh, you just gave me one specific example versus me saying, here are 3 ways you could think of it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? And so that to me is like, and I look, I get it. That's more of an advanced thing that you get going down. But like my hope is always, all right, do some of the easy things.
Yes.
And then you hopefully get excited enough to go like, oh, that worked. What else could I do? And this is where you can start adding these other flavors of things on top, right?
I love that. It is. It can be overwhelming. So I guess that would be my next question. If someone is feeling overwhelmed and just like, I just was with a client the other day who said, I just can't even think about doing an email newsletter. Like I just can't.
Yeah.
Which is where a lot of real estate agents are, especially the busy ones.
Yeah.
If they're feeling overwhelmed and paralyzed, what are the first steps they should take in terms of taking advantage of email marketing?
Stuff you want.
Well, I was going to say, just something that's just kind of broad, but as far as any type of best practices, if it's something that you're like, and I hear it all the time, oh, I know I need to be doing it, right? I know I need, but I don't know where to start. I think the first thing is carving out some time that's dedicated to it, right? Like I'm going to carve out, every Monday at 9 a.m., I'm going to take an hour and I'm going to plot up that, like, that's going to be time that I create content or, focus on constant contact and utilizing the AI tool to create an email for me. So that's kind of step one of doing something, is carving out the time for it. And then also, I really do think, obviously if somebody's using constant contact, there's a lot of help that we provide. And maybe just starting to leverage some of our educational resources or our one-on-one resources. I was just at Inman, Miami. There's a lot of people that were like, hey, do you guys have some type of service that can help to create this stuff for me, right? We have a professional services team that will do a lot of that on behalf of the agents. And so that's something that they can look into and explore. But yeah, I think carving out time and education is first and foremost. Dave, what else? What do you think?
I think, that's the big one always for me, is that you have to, good intentions aren't enough. Yeah. And I think we all know, right? Like, yeah, I want to do that thing, but if you don't block the time in the calendar to do it, then it's not going to get done, because there are so many other things to draw your attention to something else that feel more important than that thing. And so I think it is really making dedicated time, my time to do this. And then once you've got that time in there, it's also looking at like, okay, what am I trying to do this year? What's most important for me right now? Do I have something that's missing? Is there something that I need to improve? And then saying, okay, if I like make a list of those things and then, maybe circle the top 3 and then say, okay, now I'm going to choose one. And that's what I'm going to dedicate. And I'm going to make that 30 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever it is, it's to do this.
Yeah.
And then because if you don't, right, you just got to prioritize the work that you care about and what's important to you. And that's just the reality. And if, I always joke, I kind of tell this story through a yoga class challenge that I've been giving. And then that last step is like really our teacher calls it, the first thing you got to do is called auto asana. Right. And that means I got to get my ass in the car and go to the studio to take a class if I'm going to do anything. Right. And it's the similar thing here. You have to put the time in the calendar.
Yes. Yeah.
And determine what's important to you and then do it because that's the way it gets done.
Yeah. Well, it's like it always goes back to this, no matter what it is. It's making the time, putting it on the calendar and then committing to it, because when you're committing or you're scheduling time for yourself, for your business, whether it's for yourself or for your business, it's always the thing that you're like, I can do it later.
Yeah.
No, you wouldn't do that to a client. Right. Don't do it to yourself.
Right. That's a great point, right? Treat yourself like a client. What if you were consulting for yourself?
Yes, exactly.
What would you be doing, right?
Exactly.
Do the things. Because oftentimes we have the answers. And I know it's a little bit more difficult to do for yourself. But again, I feel like these are places where AI comes in to be really helpful too, because I've been trying to use that more for myself to do the things that I know I should do. I'm like, all right, I want to do this, like, help me break this down and, do that. And then, okay, now I've got a plan to do something.
Sometimes that's all you need is like the steps.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden it's not so overwhelming.
Yeah.
And the reality is a newsletter is for your clients.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right?
It's for your business,
Yeah. And it's like we are giving value. We are delivering value to people. We are illuminating things that they don't know already. And if they look at it as this is a service that I am providing to my database, then maybe we'll prioritize it a little bit. And then I'll wrap this little section up with this stat. But the reality is agents are only retaining 13% of their business. And that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy, right? Yeah. So 90% of buyers and sellers are saying, I'll use my agent again.
Yeah.
13% of them actually are. So we're becoming forgettable. And so I think that if every agent knew how important it was for retaining business, they would take that hour, they would do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, you guys, finish this sentence.
Ooh.
Who's first? Or we just imagine if we said the same thing, though. I don't know. Should we try to?
I'm going to let you guys decide who's first. No, like, trust is.
Oh.
I'll go first, Dave. Especially because I listen to Christine, so I knew she was going to ask this. Okay. To me, know, like, trust is knowing who you are and who you serve and not being forgettable.
Know, like, trust is what makes the world go round. Everything is relationships.
It is.
And the people we know, like, and trust are the people we want to have relationships with. And that's what makes things happen.
I love it. You both. Those were great. And that's a wrap. How can people find you in Constant Contact?
Well, you can find me, Stephanie.Alfonso at constantcontact.com. You can connect with me at any time there. Also on LinkedIn. It is my favorite channel. I'm on it all the time. So check me out, Stephanie Alfonso on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah. Same Constant Contact, of course. LinkedIn, I'm available there. DaveSharest.com if you wanted to get on my newsletter. But I'm also hosting the Be a Marketer podcast for Constant Contact. And we've had the lovely Stephanie Alfonso and Christine, you've been a guest on our real estate edition of that. So you can hear me on that every week as well. So check those out.
Thank you so much, guys. It's been just awesome being with you. I really appreciate your time.
Well, thanks so much for having us.
So much fun. Thanks, Christine.